Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I'll deliver some comments, followed by the interim superintendent, followed by the mayor, and then we'll take a few questions, okay? As a collective community, right now, we are all hurt, and most of us are angered by another senseless act of violence, and I believe rightfully so. There is no greater hurt than that of a parent who loses a child. In the course of my 24 years as a police officer, I've seen this too many times, and I can attest to it. As a community body, we collectively owe our support to this family and to also finding justice for this family. And we're dedicated to do that. It's the first thing I want you to remember. Last night, a 15-year-old girl who was a daughter, student, and friend, and who represented the promise of this community was killed in a brutal shooting and cowardly act of violence. Additionally, 3 other children were injured in this attack. Our officers arrived at the Harmony apartment complex around 8:30 p.m. to find a 15-year-old suffering from a gunshot wound. They immediately began treating her, doing chest compressions and other life-saving measures. She was transported to an area hospital where unfortunately she died. 2 14-year-old males also showed up at the hospital with gunshot wounds. One was treated and released. One is still receiving care and is considered stable but in serious condition. The other 14-year-old female suffered a grazed wound and has since been treated for her injuries. Surveillance videos shows a car pull up to the apartment complex. 4 people immediately get out of the car and begin indiscriminately firing round after round, not caring for who or what they may strike. As of today, we're still processing the scene with nearly 50 shell casings recovered. Multiple homes were struck, and 2 of these homes were occupied with children and families. Our detectives are following up on all leads. Let me repeat that. They're following up on all leads. However, no arrests have been made at this time. Officers are back on the scene today, canvassing the area and searching for more witnesses and physical evidence. We, of course, as I always say, we need the public's help. We have still frames, and we're going to get these to you electronically for your news outlet, showing the suspect and the suspect's car that was involved in last night's shooting. If you have any information about this incident, we want you to contact the Madison area Crime Stoppers. I'm going to give you that number. I usually leave it up to you. I'm going to give it because I don't want to leave anything to chance. 608-266-6014. Again, 608-266-6014. Or you can do that online at ptips.com, and this is anonymous. I know there is a lot of social media talk going on about this incident and about this case. We're asking people to please focus on the official updates that we release. An autopsy is scheduled for tomorrow for this beloved teen and community member who we've lost. All of the victims are young and they live in the area. The victims were also students within the Madison Metropolitan School District. We are providing extra patrol outside of MMSD schools today. As a former public school teacher, I can assure you that the staff are offering as much support as they can to the students. Joining us now is MMSD Interim Superintendent.
Thank you, Chief Barnes. In the Madison Metropolitan School District today, we want you to know that we care about our community, and our community is hurting right now. There was a tragic death last night of an East High School student due to gun violence. And we know that when violence and challenges happen in the community, the impacts carry over into our schools. Today, school staff have been helping our students process a wide range of emotions. Our student services teams are providing supports for both students and staff members. And these supportive measures will be in place for as long as our communities are in need. I want to thank our external community organizations who have been mobilizing to provide supports to students and families outside of school and in our neighborhoods. To reiterate, this was an isolated situation. There will be increased presence in our neighborhoods around some of our schools, although no specific threats of violence exist. Our Office of School Safety and our school security assistants continue to provide direct support to our schools. Today and always, we remain committed to providing safe and supportive environments for all of our students and staff. There are no words to describe the immense impact of this tragedy. However, our school district and our city is a united community. We are all interconnected. We will process this together, and we will look out for each other together.
This homicide comes months after a similar style shooting in July, where a 20-year-old man was killed. This complex has also generated 136 calls for service since that homicide. And just earlier this month or last month, we recovered 17 shell casings from an incident shooting in the 5900 block of Milwaukee. This complex is considered a priority location in our crime prevention strategy. We have done multiple things within the department to address violence at this complex. We have one of our new community outreach officers who holds weekly programming for youth. She has spent hours there serving families in this complex and has established some very good relationships. Our neighborhood resource officers have also held community outreach events there too. The captain of the East District, along with his neighborhood resource officers, they hold monthly meetings where alders are included as well as the apartment complex management, which is rural capital. That we don't always get the response that we want from rural capital. I'm told that some of the meetings have been canceled and programs that we have scheduled has had to be canceled because we don't have the support that we need. We've made suggestions about cameras and camera placements and lighting. We've made suggestions about parking and about the parking lot. We have a process called crime prevention through environmental design. We've lent that to the apartment complex as well. There was a nuisance abatement, which I'm told ended in 2021, but we've since then reinitiated that process, and you should be hearing more about that in the future. But here's the bottom line. Our department has been consistent in what we have done in that apartment complex since 2021. I do understand that crime prevention is a holistic approach. It is a community-wide effort, not just the police. It involves us all. Here to discuss some of the issues, some of the efforts that we've placed from a citywide effort is our Mayor Sati Rose Conway.
Thank you, Chief. The death of a child is the worst thing that any city faces. It shocks our sensibilities. It hurts our hearts. And my thoughts are with the family, the friends, the classmates, and the neighbors of these young victims. Our entire community is in mourning for the young girl that was killed. But as I hope we understand by now, in a nation that is racked with gun violence, thoughts and prayers are not enough. We have to recognize the failures that have made such violence possible, and we have to commit ourselves anew to addressing those failures. The Madison Police Department has made great progress on reducing shots fired in Madison. Shots fired this year are down another 16% after a significant decrease last year. And MPD is seizing 41% more guns off of our streets than ever before. But criminals and teenagers can too easily access guns in our community. Any gun death is one too many. Any shots fired incident is one too many. Our nation and our state have failed to deliver the gun safety laws that would take guns off of our streets. Our state in particular has failed to provide adequate revenue for the public safety needs of Wisconsin cities, and they have specifically banned cities from taking active measures to stop the sale of guns, to regulate assault weapons, and to provide at least some measure of protection against the flow of deadly weapons into our neighborhoods. The Madison Police Department and the Madison Fire Department do an excellent job in responding to violent incidents in our community. And I want to say thank you to all of the officers, the paramedics and the EMTs that responded last night, some of whom worked through the night and are back on the job today. Their job is difficult, and it's dangerous, and they do it really, really well. But responding to violence is not enough for our community. We must work to prevent violence from happening in the first place. In Madison, we're working closely with the police department, with public health, with neighborhood and community groups to prevent violence, and we will continue to do that. Indeed, we will step up our efforts, but we need everyone to play a role in stopping gun violence. And by everyone, I mean we need gun manufacturers to start incorporating technology into their products that would prevent theft and use of stolen guns. The majority of stolen guns recovered this year in the city of Madison were made by Glock, and I think that they should take steps immediately to improve their products. We need Congress to pass common sense gun laws. We need gun owners in our community to use gun safes and to consistently secure firearms so they do not get stolen and end up on our streets. We need landlords and property managers to provide very active and professional management of their buildings. And we need you, every single adult in the city of Madison, to be there for our young people. Volunteer in the school in your neighborhood or your local community center. Support the many fine organizations in our community that work with young people. Be a mentor. Help young people find hope, find constructive ways to manage conflict, and to be a part of our community. And we need young people. Full stop. We need you alive. We need you to grow up and be nurses and bus drivers and teachers and so much more. We do not want to bury any more of our children. Gun violence is an urgent American crisis, and we need every level of government to act accordingly. Thank you.
Before we open it up for a few questions, our officers, detectives, and investigators, they worked late until last night, and then I was out with them. They stayed past the time I left, and then today we had a briefing early this morning, and they were back working. I want the persons involved, our victims, to know that our officers are working diligently, detectives, investigators, to bring justice. We're following up on absolutely every lead. I cannot reiterate how much it is important that if you think you know something, we're going to get these photos. There's a few more that we're going to get out. It's a lot clearer than these to you. If you see something on those photos that you recognize, please let us know so that we can follow up on it. We have some leads that we're following up on now. I'm not going to discuss those, but we're following up on every tip, every lead, every email that we possibly can. And so we need the support of our community. So with that being said, I will take a few questions.
Chief, can you identify in the pictures, are they victims, are they suspects, are they shooters? Who are the people that we are seeing?
I'm sorry. Okay, thank you. So the people that you're seeing here, they are our suspects. This is a vehicle, we believe it to be a Lexus SUV. You can see that apparently there's someone driving. There are 4 people out. That makes 5. You can see them going toward the apartment complex and firing, and then the car is moving, as you can see, and then they get back into the vehicle, and then they drive off.
Was the group of teens that was shot at, were they targeted, and did they fire back at all?
They did not, no, and I don't believe they were targeted. It's 8:30 at night. It's not unreasonable for people to be outside. I mean, it was a nice, I thought it was a nice night. There's nothing unreasonable about that.
So
I
there
do
may
not
be-
believe, no.
You have any idea why somebody would just come in and say?
I do not. If we had a why, that's like a compass for us. But no, it's nothing, it's nothing wrong with being outside at 8:30 at night talking with your friends.
And were all the victims outside?
Yes, yes.
With 50 shell casings, obviously multiple guns, were they all by the suspects? Were all guns fired by suspects?
That's correct, yes.
We had heard that there was possibly somebody as young as 7th grade that police were looking into. Is that at all accurate?
As a suspect, I don't have any knowledge that that's true at all.
Are you doing anything to kind of hold the apartment complex accountable? I know that you mentioned like you went these routes of
Yep.
like the things in the past. Like I feel with them not having surveillance, with them not doing the things to keep their tenants safe. At this point, is there anything that you can do? Maybe charge them a fine, to hold them more accountable of the situations that's going on down there?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So Captain Gary's not here because he was on a meeting with City Legal, and they'll be served with a letter of putting them on notice of the nuisance abatement process. They're going to put some very specific things in the letter that they're going to ask them to do immediately. There will be no, in the next 30 days, can you blah, blah, blah. That's not what's going to happen right now. They were very clear with us, City Legal was, City Legal was very clear what that letter is going to state. I don't know if it's public or not, but when they get served, if I can share that, I will.
And how many suspects are there?
So again, we can see that there are 4 that's outside of the car and 1 that's inside the car. So that would be 5. However, it's an SUV. I don't know if there were other people in the car. We can't see it in there. But that's what we know. There would have had to be someone driving and 4 persons on the outside.
The victim, were residents of the complex? The victims were all residents?
They lived in the area. I'm not sure if they were all exact residents, and so we try not to give information that's going to identify juveniles.
What kinds of guns were used?
I don't know. I don't know.
I'm sorry, the mayor said that you're gonna double your effort. What will that look like?
What do you mean double our effort?
She said she's gonna double the city's effort in the violence prevention. Is that, am I getting your words right? or wrong?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we have been working with public health and our violence prevention unit in very close cooperation with MPD, with the school district, and with other community groups. And we are going to continue to do that even more diligently than we have already. And that looks like a lot of different things, including the work that we're doing to hold the property managers accountable for improvements that they need to make. But there is a number of different pieces of work, and the chief talked about some of them. There's other programming that is happening in the complex, and hopefully more to come. But that work is done largely through the violence prevention unit in public health in clear communication and cooperation with MPD.
Chief, are there any indicators that the shooting is connected with the other shooting on Milwaukee earlier?
No, not at all. No.
Is
Not
there
at this
connection
time.
to the one in Meadowlands apartment complex?
No, we don't have any connections at this time, no.
Can you say what schools? You said you're providing extra security to some MMSD schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at East High School. Obviously, we're at La Follette High School. And then I think there's another middle school, but I'm sorry, the name escapes me right now. But we can get you that info.
Whitehorse?
I'm sorry.
Whitehorse Middle School.
Thank you so much.
For the families that live here, that they've seen this happen in July and now this time, I mean, 8:30 is fairly early. I mean, someone could be walking their dog, taking their kid home from practice, whatever it might be, that aren't feeling safe right now. What's your message?
Yeah, so that's a good point, but consider this, people were out and people did get hurt.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with being out, in my judgment, at 8:30 talking to your friends. And so, we really in my judgment, whether you are, a visitor or whether you live there, we want everyone to feel safe. And I just want the community, and thank you for that question, I want the community to know that, again, we have been working extremely hard in this complex, but we don't always get, the help that we need. But I do believe we're going to get that now, working with City Legal. Again, we've increased patrols, of course, in the area. You're going to see officers out there. We do something called our COPA patrols, and the captain has been really instrumental in measuring that dosage, meaning how much do we need to be in there so that people feel safe but they don't feel over-policed, and we've done that, or Captain Gary's done an excellent job of that. The Alder in the area, Alder Derek Fields, has been in constant contact with us since then, and of course we do weekly programming there with the officers that we have. So we want people to feel safe. But I will say that if you live in that apartment complex, you also have to hold everyone accountable, including me. Hold me accountable, hold the city accountable, hold the apartment managers accountable. If you're paying your rent to them, you have a right to be safe. And when people say that these are some things that you can do to help keep people safe, your parking lot design isn't right. They have an obligation, in my judgment, to fix that. And that's what we want, because this is, to me, senseless. So I will take one more question, and then we're going to move on.
Superintendent, so you stated that you guys are doing the efforts and the police to put people within the middle schools. Do you have like some type of anonymous tip line for some of the kids? Because since this is something that's happening within the youth, is it a way that they could feel safe to give us clues and tips or how to even fix this problem or even address this problem?
Thank you for the question. We have staff in our hallways today listening to students, talking to students. We know it's important to be doing that immediately and not let time pass. We also have an app at school that students can use if they want to provide confidential information. But we have deployed our student services staff from central office to be in all of the schools that we believe there may be an impact.
Can we get a person from Focused Interrupted to comment on this latest?
They don't have to, but.
Or Ariel?
Okay, they don't want to comment, but let me say thank you to Focus Interruption. When we call, they come to help us. Thank you to Madison School District. Thank you, Mayor, so much for your comments. Thank you to the men and women of the Madison Police Department who really not going on a lot of sleep, but that doesn't matter to us. And thank you to the community. We need your help. We're going to follow up on every lead. Remember that Crime Stoppers tip, number, line, or contact your local NRO, contact your local pastor, community leader, whoever it may be that you trust to give information so we can get that information and follow up on it. I believe we're going to work diligently on this one to resolve it. So thank you so much for covering this. Thank you.
That's the